Texas lawmakers are hearing public testimony on state Republicans' restrictive voting bill. The state House finally reached a quorum this weekend. More than 50 Democratic lawmakers had fled last month to stall the measure. They argued the proposal adds undue restrictions in voting, especially for people of color. In exchange for their return, the Texas House Sergeant at Arms has dropped the civil arrest warrants for the Democrats. CBS News political reporter Adam Brewster has been following this story. He joins me now from Denver. Adam, welcome. Democrats' efforts to delay or block passage of voting restrictions fell apart last week. The Texas House could pass voting restrictions within days. Where do Texas Democrats go from here? It appears their hands are pretty much tied now.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of eyes on Austin, Texas this afternoon to see how many are in the state capitol today when they go back into session a little later on. And then from there, you know, if there are a significant number who are back today, you may see more come back throughout the week since that quorum would be reestablished. And where they go from here really remains to be seen. You mentioned there is already testimony ongoing in the Texas House about an election bill. The House is moving forward with this. There's only about 2 weeks or so left in this special session. That is not a ton of time to get a bill passed. Something has already passed the Senate, but the House certainly still has work to go, and you see Republicans want to move quickly. This has been their top priority since coming back into special session in July, when quorum was broken in May. Governor Abbott immediately said that this was going to be their top priority in a special session. So they're moving ahead quickly, and it's not quite clear what tactics they'll be able to use. There are some tools, procedural tools within their disposal that they can deploy. We saw a Democratic senator a couple of weeks ago filibuster the bill for 15 hours. Shortly after she finished her filibuster, the Texas Senate passed its version of the bill along party lines. So we'll have to see how this week develops, but certainly fewer tools at their disposal for the Texas Democrats with a quorum being present.
The bill's advancement is undoubtedly a blow to the Texas Democrats. 3 Texas Democrats issued a statement after returning to the state house last week. They said, quote, "We took the fight for voting rights to Washington, D.C. and brought national attention to this partisan push in our state to weaken ballot access. Our efforts were successful and served as the primary catalyst to push Congress to take on federal voter protection legislation," end quote. Adam, real talk here. Did strategy do anything to persuade Republicans to ease or drop voting restrictions, or did this just kind of drag out the inevitable?
Well, certainly the Republicans said that they were going to pass some sort of election bill. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who oversees the Senate, said in July, this bill will pass, whether it is in July or August or September or next February or next June. This bill will pass at some point. And so there was no indication that Governor Abbott was going to continue to stop calling special sessions until Democrats finally showed up and something could be done about this bill. And we'll see what happens as it goes through the remaining steps in the legislative process. Certainly those lawmakers who came back last week said, we fought outside of the state capitol. Now it's time to do our fighting on the House floor. Some of their colleagues, many of them put out a statement last week saying that they were disappointed to see Democrats go back and give in to Republicans. Some of those who pushed for the quorum break note that in May, there was a point where the House got Republicans to make some concessions on an election bill that was passed in May. It went back to a point where the House and the Senate sort of had to agree on what a final version of the bill might be. And there were some provisions put in there at the end that hadn't been in previous versions of the bill that Democrats really objected to, and that's why they walked out at the end of the original session back in May. And so you've seen some Democrats point to that, saying, we don't know quite where this process will go because we've seen this issue happen before. So it's certainly something to keep an eye on. They have about 2 weeks. Things should move pretty quickly and keep moving down there in Texas. But in terms of what might be the final product of this bill, that remains to be seen.
And we'll be keeping a close watch on Texas. Now, from voting in Texas to voting in Arizona, some Republicans are criticizing an audit spawned by their own party of the 2020 election results in Maricopa County. The company who conducted the audit is scheduled to submit its report today, but it won't be made public right away. What do we expect the results to be, and why are Republicans calling the audit process flawed?
Again, there's going to be a lot of eyes on what are in that report, but you've seen some people who have been outspoken against this process saying it has not been a credible process from the beginning. The Democratic Secretary of State, former Republican election officials saying this, whatever is in this audit, the results, are not necessarily something credible. And it's important to remember that whatever is in this document, in this report, it will not change the results of the 2020 election. Arizona and Maricopa County already did multiple audits, standard audits using federally certified auditing firms after the election that affirmed the results that President Biden won the state. And then, you've seen Republicans speak out against this process. Just last week, the Maricopa County recorder, who is their top elections official, put out a letter to Republicans saying this has eroded the trust in our election system. This has not been a credible process. This is not something that's been done using standard procedures. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, which is dominated by Republicans 4-1, has frequently criticized the process. They're certainly upset, about the way that it has been handled and that they had to buy new voting machines because the Secretary of State said they couldn't continue to use the machines that the contractors used during this ballot review. Now, the Arizona Senate President, a Republican, Karen Fann, it's Senate Republicans who spearheaded this process. She has said this audit is not about trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election or to change that result. It's about looking at processes that may have been flawed and fixing those going forward. She has said that the Senate team will be reviewing this report and vetting it before they put out anything publicly. It's not clear quite how long that will take, but certainly it is something that a lot of people will be keeping an eye on.
Enough audits to make your head spin. Adam Brewster, thank you for your time.